All right, welcome back to I'm Glad You Asked. I'm Bianca Ariel, business coach and creator of the Creator Calling course.
Hey guys, I'm Dominique Rice, owner of Dominique Rice Consulting.
Awesome. I am actually back in the States. So I'm back in LA right now. So I'm excited to be doing this from LA. So we were actually supposed to be together. So you want to explain our week that we had and why we are now separate?
Well, we'll miss each other. People are so funny. Like, is something wrong? I'm like, no, everything, like, we're great.
Wait, someone asked if something was wrong?
Yeah, like my mom's like, what's wrong? Where's Bianca? Why? And then my mom wanted to know why you weren't coming to Charlotte too. Like, I'm like, Mom, Bianca's the only person in the world that I can travel with like that doesn't get on my nerves. Maybe somebody else, but like Ashley, is cool too. But anywho, so Bianca and I met up a week ago in LA. Excuse me, in Vegas. There we go. We were not in LA. We were in Vegas, and we had a wonderful time. We were working out. We did all of our stuff. We drove to Utah. It was epic. We did like Utah stuff, and then I had a family emergency, and I had to come back home to North Carolina. And just to be with my family. I have a stepbrother who I love so much, and his grandfather passed away, and our families are very intertwined, and it's also my cousin's grandfather, and we're just really, really close. So I just need to be here for the family. I need to get things together for the funeral. I'm in charge of like the Airbnb and just getting things together. So it was just important to come back, and with the uncertainty of everything, it was just, we needed to make it happen. But we had a wonderful time together, and we're going to pick up where we left off in a couple of weeks and find some fun shit to do.
Right. And I'm over here. I'm like, so I could be in New Orleans. I definitely am coming to Charlotte. And then I also am like, driving back from Utah to Vegas, because I ended up going from Utah to Vegas and then flying. I found like a $50 flight on Southwest from Vegas to LA. But driving back from Utah, I went through Zion National Park. I don't know, like I didn't have a phone, right? Because I had to go get my phone fixed in Washington, Utah. So the car that we had actually had a GPS this whole time. So I got MapQuest instructions, and then I actually got in the car, and then I was like, let me see if this works. So it actually worked, but it took me through Zion National Park. So when I got there, they were like, it's $40. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get to Washington, Utah. I don't like, tell me where to go. And so they were trying to explain to me like how to get around, but because I didn't have a phone, I was like, I'd rather just listen to what the car is telling me to do. So I ended up going through Zion National Park. When I say that was the prettiest drive I've ever. Zion National Park is beautiful. I tried to get a little bit of footage, but I couldn't do it at the same time because there was too much turning and we were going through hills. But it's definitely worth going back. And I think Southern Utah is one of the prettiest places I've ever been. And so now I'm like, I might want to try to go to Salt Lake City still, because it's just such a pretty, like peaceful place, and I still want to see it. But yeah, so I haven't really decided what I'm doing yet. I know for me, I need to kind of sit down in one place for a while, just kind of quarantine and like level set, and then kind of pick up from there. So, but I'm definitely will be in Charlotte soon. So I'm super excited for that.
I love it. Yeah, I'm so excited. It's so funny. So I'm like, I miss you already.
I know. So, so much fun. So for this week, I kind of wanted to talk about what we were going to work on together, kind of your thoughts on time blocking itself. And I think we've explained time blocking before, but also kind of creating a 12-week plan versus like a year span plan. I know that you're working on something similar to that, so I don't know how much you want to disclose. I was able to come up with a 12-week plan, and that's what I'm going to be working on for the rest of this month, just so I can go ahead and start fresh for September 1st and, get right back on schedule. So what are your thoughts on time blocking, number one, and what are your thoughts on setting up a 12-week plan instead of an annual plan?
Yeah. So this isn't, Dominique did not create this. I am not the creator. I read a book called The 12-Week Year, and it's all about basically, if you look at businesses and you look at things, you set your goals for the year. And then if you look at corporations or people in sales, things of that nature, Bianca knows this because she's in sales and she's a sales pro. But November, the beginning of December up until Christmas, people work like crazy to finish up selling things and to hit their annual goals so they can get bonus and, you know, those incentives. And the whole concept of it is like you kind of coast along and then at the end you just pound it out. Well, what if we say, forget the end, let's just focus on these 12 weeks and pound out these 12 weeks and every time regroup. Also, when you make annual goals, a lot happens in a year. You know, for instance, you can make annual goals and have a baby. You can make annual goals and, you know, that person has to be on maternity leave. Well, that's not gonna, those goals aren't gonna be hit. So the whole purpose is like to make 12-week goals, make them obtainable. The second purpose of this book is to, and what I'm putting together is a mastermind group based around these principles. But the second purpose of it is to basically, so say my goal is to lose 10 pounds. Then you write out the objectives of what you have to do each week to hit that goal. So you're not necessarily always focusing on the goal per se, you're focusing on the actions that's going to, if you do these actions, you're going to hit this goal. And then every week you measure yourself for accuracy, just like a KPI. You're actually measuring yourself each week to see how, you know, so say for instance, I want to lose 10 pounds. What do I have to do to lose 10 pounds? Okay, first of all, I got to eat X amount of calories. I got to work out X amount of times. So say, you know, I have to drink enough water and I have to not have more than X amount of glasses of wine. And if I do all of those things, I'm going to hit that 10-pound goal. Like that's just, it's just fact. So that's the whole kind of premise around this goal setting. And then you basically just focus, you laser funnel to focus on accomplishing those things. So I'm putting together an amazing mastermind. It's totally free for, I want people to try out. I have some twists and turns and some exciting things for 12 weeks that I'm putting together a mastermind. So I'll be launching that next week. So stay tuned for that. And let's finish up 2020. It's strong as hell, y'all. Like we can do this together.
I like that. And like you mentioned before, so I was in sales, so we actually, you know, broke down our year by the quarter. So everything that we do is measured by the quarter, which is essentially 12 weeks long, right? And so is it 12 weeks long? Am I tripping? Yeah, no, it's 12 weeks long. So yeah. So, and you know, when looking at your annual goals, like if you are able to break it down by quarter, then basically what you do is kind of collect all of your data for the entire year and then measure everything year by year. But breaking things down, like you mentioned before, helps you laser focus your goals by the week. And there's so many different things that can happen throughout the quarter period that it helps you adjust and pivot quickly. Because if you're looking at everything from a long-term state of view, I actually think you need to look at things from long-term and short-term. So you definitely need to lay foundational work out, especially like if I'm referencing sales, if you're working on developing a relationship with someone and you understand that, okay, this is not going to be fruitful within this quarter, but by the 6-month or the 9-month time period, I have access to so many different accounts that if I'm able to develop this one relationship, then it's going to expand and I'm going to be able to collect the fruit later. But there's a lot of all of these hanging fruit that you can grab and accomplish right away. And I think those are the things that you need to focus on short term. So in reference to business, anything that you can do to start streaming in revenue right away, those are things that you can break down week by week. And then you also want to look at a long-term projection as far as anything that's going to be long-term but fruitful in the end. Does that make sense?
Right. Well, you can still, even like those relationships that are going to be fruitful, we can still tie that into the 12 weeks.
Okay. So how do you integrate both the short-term goals and the long-term goals?
Well, I would call that, we can still do a short-term goal for that. So we would take that to make that a short-term goal. So it could be develop a healthy relationship with Susie Shoemaker.
Okay.
And then what we're focusing on is I'm going to call her once a week. So that's how you track that. I'm going to send her flowers, whatever. So then all the things you're going to do to facilitate that relationship with Susie Shoemaker, those are your objectives that you're going to be rating yourself on the week. It doesn't mean that you're going to close. It didn't say close Susie Shoemaker's contract. It said build that relationship.
Exactly.
So the long-term goals and put them in as a short-term goal for the 12 weeks, but it may not, it doesn't have to be based around selling her $1 million contract. It could just be based around step one, which is developing the relationship. And then once you have that relationship developed, then when you do the next 12-week goal, now maybe those 12 weeks, it's like sell to Susie Shoemaker because you've already spent 12 weeks fostering.
So you're measuring basically activity versus actually trying to close on a potential.
Correct. All about productivity. So we're tracking productivity because if a lot of times we have a plan and we don't work the plan, but we say the plan didn't work. It's like, but you didn't do all the stuff you were supposed to do in the plan, but you're hollering the plan didn't work. So let's say that's the goal, but the thing that we're focusing on is the productivity. And if you're getting 85% accuracy on your productivity, then that plan should work, or it was a bad plan. But 9 times out of 10, the plan is a good plan. We as humans just don't stick with it. So if we change our tune to focus on productivity, then we're going to be seeing more accomplishments.
And then we also have to consider productivity as accomplishments as well. So for Susie, you want to close Susie, right? But you know that, okay, this is going to be a hard account or a hard client to penetrate. So you're going to give yourself 6 to 9 months to do so. But in this 12-week plan, each week you're going to do something that's going to be something active towards building that relationship, and that's what you're going to implement. But at the end of the 12 weeks, if you were able to get 2 Skype meetings with her and maybe talk to one of her partners, then that's considered, successful in that 12-week span and getting you closer to that goals. But what I was trying to explain is you need to understand what those little steps of activities are going to produce in the end. So we do have to look at what we're trying to do long term, and then we need to be able to break them down in a 12-week time period. And a lot of people, and I know a lot of people that don't celebrate their small wins. I know a lot of people, I celebrate my small wins.
Something like, and then I have to look back and be like, dang girl, like even looking over my goals for this month, I'm like, oh, I could have been more productive. I could have did this. I'm like, but I'm on target to meet every single one of my goals. And this is so like if every goal is going to be checked, Dominique, you've done enough, and so it's just part of it is not feeling that. And so that's why I'm excited about my mastermind group, because I want other women, especially Black women, that we can come together and we can celebrate the victories that we have. Because I have a client who's doing the damn thing and she's like so stressed. And she's like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And I'm like, girl, let me take a quick pause button and let me talk about all the stuff you've done with me this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then all the extra stuff you've done. Now all the stuff that you've done to make sure that your CFO had all the stuff in order. So let's take a pause and see how much money you made, because you're making good money. So we want to look at those things. And so that's what this whole 12 weeks is going to be about, to cheer each other on, to rank each other, and to know what, even if our target is to get 85% accuracy in each area or each goal. But even if you don't, we're here to pick you up and say, girl, that's all good, but next week you're going to get it, and we're here to be honest and accountable. So I'm very excited to launch and share this next week with everyone. And I think, this is a great thing. And to circle around to what you said about time blocking, the reason why I like this is I have a handful of clients that are struggling with time blocking.
Okay.
So I'm working on an alternative for them. They drive more on productivity and action than being consistently doing the same thing at the same time, as do I when I'm not home. So when I'm home, I can time block all day, but I'm a nomad. So there's nothing for me to travel a week, 2, 3 weeks at a time, and then I'm not following that time block. I'm not a failure for that, but that doesn't work for my life when I'm traveling. When I'm traveling, I want to focus on productivity, making sure all my stuff are done, and then I want to enjoy my life. Because life
So how are you going to go about doing that? So if you have for this week, I have a pool of things that I need to get done. Now, when I'm going to get them done, I'm not sure. What I try to do is try to have at least a morning routine so that I feel somewhat structured. And then, kind of like anything for example, for today, I definitely want to practice more morning routine, but as far as the time blocking is from 9 to 10, I'm supposed to be working on this, 10 to 11, it didn't happen. Today, it took pretty much all day for me to purge all of my things and pretty much get organized and set up for the next couple days so that I can get organized. So how would you do that in reference to your 12-week plan? Are you just listing out everything you have to do for the week and then checking it off one by one, or how would that work?
So, well, that's a good point. So what we do with the 12th week is we have a day of planning. So you can do it Sunday night, Sunday, or Monday morning, where you plan out your week and you say, okay, on this day, I'm going to do this. Okay, I don't have any meetings on this day. So you basically just put it on your calendar for what works for you. What I personally do is I have a very intense morning routine. It's not that intense, but it's intense for me. I read for 20 minutes. I read my Bible. That's a separate reading. I journal, and I type 500 words. And that's what I have to do every single morning. Even when Bianca and I were in Las Vegas and we would go work out, like I would wake up earlier to make sure I could get that stuff done before I even left to go work out. So just by doing my morning routine, I had clarity, and I'm writing a book. So all my work for my book was completed at that time. So I didn't have to. So that was my number one thing I needed to focus on. So I put that in my morning routine. Mm-hmm. So that may not work for everybody, but that works for me because that's the one thing. What's the one thing that I have to do today? I have to write for my book because I'm on deadlines. So, I would say picking one thing to put in your morning routine may help some people. Like if you're writing a book, or if you're working on a course, or if you're editing videos, incorporate that in your morning routine. Like the one thing that's most important for you to complete this week, throw that in at the end of your morning routine. And then that way, it's done. So I could go work out, and then I'm like, you know what? My productivity was already high because I did the one thing I had to do, and anything else I do is gravy on top of this.
I love that. I love that. Like the one thing that you have to do, make sure that you're focusing on for the 12-week plan, make sure you're implementing it in your morning routines. Right. I love that idea because it's like no matter what your day looks like, you at least got that done. I'm going to start implementing that. I like that. Okay, cool. I like it. Well, that's all I have for okay, fun question do you have a fun question?
I have a question. Okay. It's not necessarily that fun, but it's interesting. Okay. So tell me what you feel about when you meet someone, okay, and you're very smitten by them, how do you control yourself in terms of taking it easy and going with the flow?
How do you take it easy and go with the flow? So I feel like I know what you're saying. So naturally, I just feel like both you and I we're always ourselves. I think we're always ourselves, and we're pretty much just, it is what it is. So, but when you meet someone and you're smitten by them, I think that you and I, to be transparent, have had some difficult past relationships, and therefore it's left an impression on how we view ourselves or how we feel like others may view us. And so typically if we meet someone and we really are not connected to the outcome, then we can just generally be ourselves and it doesn't matter, it is what it is. But when you're smitten by someone, you're we've been told so many various things that we don't want to give off the wrong impression to this new individual because we really, really do like them. And then we start to become attached to what may transpire. So I think that for me, what's worked is attracting what I really, really want. And then also, now that I've been able to do that, being very honest and vulnerable. And I think that as independent women is it's a new concept, and strong women, it's not a new concept, but it's a sensitive concept because we don't typically feel safe around everyone. But I think in this instance, because once we start to become vulnerable and honest with our feelings, I think that it's going to work out better in the end. So when we're smitten by them and we do feel a certain type of way, I would be honest and try to express that, because I think that people will receive that well, especially because we have strong personalities. I think that they will appreciate a softer side to us.
That's very vulnerable.
Yes. And I think that once you find someone, or once you attract someone that you start to become smitten by, I think that we're starting to recognize this is something that we want and that this is something that we identify with. And I think that that's how we know it's time for us to become more vulnerable and really express the way that we feel. I mean, for me, I'd be like, all right, relax, calm down. But I do think that being vulnerable allows people to see another side of us, and it allows people to become vulnerable as well.
Okay. Well, thank you. I don't have an answer to that question. That was a personal question for me.
Yeah. So I really think that, yeah, I think it's time to be really honest about the way we feel and honest about like not making it like a trauma bond or anything, but like being honest about what, some things that we may have experienced just in an emotionally mature way. And, and then talking about why we love to be in this experience. You know what I mean? I wouldn't always talk about just negative aspects, but I also think it's helpful for other people to know that you're interested in them and that this is where you want to be, so that it allows them to become vulnerable with you as well. And then you start to build that connection.
I like it. Thank you.
All right. All right, guys. So thank you guys so much for joining us this week. Again, if you want to find me, you can find me at biancaariel.com. You can find Dominique Rice at dominiquerice.com. And we look forward to seeing you back next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.